I've been using the Ricoh GR3 almost since day one, 6 years ago. Everybody talks about three major problems plaguing this camera since launch: autofocus speed, battery life, and that sensor dust issue. Now, Ricoh has just announced the GR4 for autumn 2025. Are these problems gonna get finally fixed, or are we getting the same issues in a new body? Over the past 6 years, I've shot thousands of photos with my GR3 across Lima, Rotterdam, and different travels. So I've felt these pains, and I mean it from real experience, not just spec sheets. In this video, I'm gonna give you my honest thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly about the Ricoh GR3 based on 6 years of real-world use. Then I'll dive deep into what's actually changing with the GR4. Not just the marketing promises, but what these changes mean for your actual shooting experience. I'll show you sample photos from my GR3, demonstrate the exact problems I've encountered, and break down whether the GR4 upgrades justify waiting until August 2025, or maybe if it's better to spend your money elsewhere. So let's start with what I generally love about this camera after 6 years. First, let's start with the good. So let's talk about size and quality. For me, these are the top reasons I got this camera when it came out in 2019, because back then I was trying to do street photography with a bigger camera and wanted to be stealthy out on the street. I also wanted something light for travel without compromising on quality. The GR3 delivered on all fronts. Look at the size comparison. This is my GR3 next to a standard mirrorless setup. The difference is dramatic, but here's what impressed me the most. The image quality didn't suffer despite the compact size. So let me show you some examples. The details and sharpness from such small sensors actually still surprise me. This photo right here is from one of my travels in Peru. I carried this camera for days in the Amazon without fatigue, of course, because it's super light, and the results speak for themselves. Now, is this improving, staying the same, or getting worse with the GR4? Actually, these trends are improving slightly. The camera is getting marginally smaller and lighter at 262 grams. The quality has gone from 24 megapixels to 25.74 megapixels, which is not a massive upgrade, but it will allow you to crop your pictures a little bit more. Next up is cropping flexibility and boot time. I own the GR3 and not the GR3X, and I decided not to get the GR3X when it came out because with the GR3 I can crop and almost get the same look as the GR3X. I couldn't have done it the other way around. If you get the X, then you cannot really expand those pictures. Let me show you what I mean. This is the same photo using all the frame from the GR3, and here's what it looks like cropped to match the GR3X field of view. The quality remains excellent. Having 25.74 megapixels in the GR4 adds a little bit more flexibility in this regard. The next thing that sold me on this camera initially was its fast boot time. When I was walking and taking street photos, I needed something that could start up immediately so I wouldn't miss a shot. From completely off to ready to shoot in under 2 seconds. That's how fast the GR3 is. The GR4, on the other hand, promises an even faster boot time, which is impressive. Over time, my shooting style has changed, and now I keep my camera on constantly, which connects to one of the major problems we'll discuss later, which is battery life. But let's continue with the good things for now, because another thing that constantly amazes me is how this little camera produces such sharp pictures. I have photos that when I revisit them months later, I'm genuinely surprised were taken by such a compact device. This camera also has excellent dynamic range for its size. This challenging lighting situation was handled beautifully with recoverable highlights and shadows. The GR4 promises an entirely new lens design with 7 elements, including 3 of them being aspherical, potentially offering even better optical performance. But honestly, the current lens is already excellent, so this feels more like refinement than revolution.
Hey there, it's post-production me, so excuse the potato quality camera. After I shot the video, Ricoh announced more details on the GR4, and now we have more context. First of all, the battery life is going to be longer, and the mechanism that absorbs dust will change. These are 2 updates that don't fully confirm that the problems will go away, but it's important to know. Also, the price is gonna be a tough one because the GR4 will launch at $1,500. Do I recommend it? It really depends, and you have to get to the end of the video. Bye.
Now let's talk about what drives me absolutely crazy, starting off with the battery. This is the biggest practical problem I have with the camera. The battery is tiny compared to standard camera batteries. I get about 200-250 shots per battery if I'm conservative with the LCD usage, and for a full day of street photography, I need at least 3 batteries with me. This, as you can imagine, creates a cascade of problems. More batteries mean you need a multi-battery charger. I had to buy one separately. And you need to organize and track which batteries are charged and which ones aren't. I use elastic bands for that, by the way, so it's not rocket science, but it definitely adds complexity to your workflow. The GR4 appears to use the same battery based on the specifications, and with the camera being even smaller, I actually don't expect battery life improvements. One solution for if you really don't want to buy batteries is carrying a portable power bank constantly, but that defeats the purpose of having such a compact camera anyway, so this remains my biggest frustration after 6 years. Now, next up on the bat is autofocus reliability issues, and it's incredibly frustrating when you need the camera to be dependable. I've missed shots because of the autofocus hunts in situations where it should lock immediately, and on the other hand, I had shots taken unexpected turns because the autofocus grabbed the wrong subject. In low light or low contrast situation, it becomes particularly unreliable. The good news is that Ricoh claims that the GR4 addresses this with a new hybrid autofocus system combining contrast and phase detection. They promise faster and more accurate focusing, especially in challenging situations. This is actually one of the most compelling reasons to actually upgrade your camera, because reliable autofocus is non-negotiable for street photography. Another frustrating aspect is the rear control dial. It feels flimsy, gets pressed accidentally, and I generally don't like using it. My first GR3 was refurbished and I thought that the mushy dial was just wear and tear, but my second GR3 I bought brand new and it had the exact same issue. But here's some good news, because Ricoh is completely eliminating the rear dial in the GR4. They are replacing it with dedicated buttons, which should be much more reliable and less prone to accidental activation. This is definitely an improvement, removing a moving part that was just simply unreliable. And now let's move on to the ugly, and let's talk about that sensor dust issue first, because this is the one that dominates every GR3 review and forum discussion. And let me start by being completely transparent. I personally haven't experienced this problem at all with my GR3s. I've used them for 3 years and it's not like I've been precious with them. I put them in my pockets, throw them in bags without cases, and used it in dusty environments, and I haven't seen dust spots in my pictures. I'm generally surprised when people mention this as their top problem, because it hasn't been my experience. However, I acknowledge that many users have faced this issue, and it seems to be related to the lens mechanism allegedly sucking dust when extending and retracting. Will this improve with the GR4? Probably not significantly, because the fundamental design remains the same, a retracting lens in a compact body. The physics haven't changed. And if you've had dust issues with your GR3, please share it in the comments where and how do you use your camera, because I'm genuinely curious about the conditions that cause this problem. I want to understand why my experience has been different. One thing that's not necessarily ugly but lots of people have questions about is whether photos from this camera can be printed, especially at larger than normal sizes. I've tried this out. I printed a few pictures, and if you're interested in the results, check the video right here. I printed in different sizes and compared the quality using the Ricoh GR3. You'd be surprised by what I found. Should you buy the Ricoh GR4 when it launches in autumn 2025? Here's my honest assessment. If you don't own a GR3 and want this type of camera, wait for the GR4. The autofocus improvements alone justify the wait. Plus, you'll get the better control layout and slightly better image quality. On the other hand, if you currently own a GR3 and it works well for you, the upgrade doesn't look essential. Let's wait until the camera is out to see if that's actually the case. The improvements are incremental rather than revolutionary, so your money may be better spent on lenses for another system or simply batteries for your GR3. Lots of batteries for your GR3. If you're frustrated with the GR3 reliability issues, particularly the autofocus, then the GR4 may solve your problems. But if battery life is your main concern, you are likely to face the same challenges. And the price will be crucial, because if Ricoh prices the GR4 significantly higher than the current GR3 street price, the value proposition becomes questionable. Personally, I'm still on the fence about upgrading. My GR3 works well for my needs, and the improvements, while nice, aren't game-changing for my shooting style. What about you? Are you considering the GR4? What are the top features that will make you upgrade? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.